Segment 2, Yuri and your own story as a dissident. As a young man, you represent the very flower of Soviet communism. You're a brilliant young scientist. You come of age some decades after the revolution. There's nothing of the old regime about you. You are a product of the modern Soviet state. And yet, when still in your 20s, you become a dissident. Why did you put that brilliant career at risk? Why did you turn against the system that had produced you?
Yeah, the answer to that was a sense of personal responsibility. Just because I felt that I became as early already as a part of that elite, which had maybe more information and understanding of what happened in the society, I felt more responsible for reacting to what I didn't like. And I didn't like a lot of things. I actually disagreed on principle with that system. But also I realized that I had maybe more immunity than many others because scientists in the Soviet Union had very high social status. And I had more immunity in terms that I could do more before being arrested or killed than many other people. So it was a suicidal mission in any case. And I'm saying it always that if you were not ready to die, you shouldn't have become dissident because you would have been broken by the KGB. They would sense it instantly. You know, if you are not ready to go to the very end, don't even try it.
Tell us about what happened in 1980. Tell me the story about when you discovered, the way in which you discovered that you were being shown the door.
Yeah, but let me tell you one thing before, which was important. The key to, I would say, success of this movement, two things were critical in securing our success. First, that we resolved totally to non-violent movement. We totally denied any violence. Second, that we operated absolutely open. We always would sign our names under any document, etc. Why is it important? Because there were attempts before dissidents to create some underground organization, etc., and even some armed organization. All of them were crushed instantly by the KGB because the secrecy and force was KGB turf when they were very strong. However, the openness and non-violence were the weakness of the communist system. And that's why we prevailed, actually, because here the KGB, look, it's like vampires in the daylight, you know. They became very weak when we started to do so openly. But, so we didn't conceal anything, and what happened with me? At one day, I was followed 24 hours. There were 2 cars usually following me. And at one day, I was pushed.
This was standard. When you made your way through Moscow, you were used to being followed.
Well, that's standard, but it's very few people. You can calculate simply resources which are required for that. They are enormous. So I was followed consistently for last 3 or 4 months. I was followed before also, often, but on more random basis. For last 3 months of my being in the Soviet Union, it was consistent 24 hours following. And at one day, several guys came, pushed me into one car, brought to the office of police, not of KGB, what was funny. But there were 2 top KGB officers in those cars, on the level of colonels. And there was conversation which was started by the head of this police office, who appeared to be totally uninformed, you know, who I was and what I was doing, because he was given this phony role, you know, to accuse me of some crimes, etc. And when the KGB, 2 KGB officers were sitting on the side, when they realized that he is incapable to carry out his phony assignment, they said, "We'll take care. From this moment, we'll do it." And he, the boss of this police office, he asked them, "Can I stay or should I leave?" They say, "Okay, you can stay, but shut up." And then it was very frankly. They gave me the paper, which was official warning, which actually accused me of my activities as Moscow Helsinki group member, and my major crime was that I was actually the main person in the group who was in touch with American and British diplomats, and many of them were friends of mine. So I was.
This is true. They
absolutely.
There wasn't a fabricated charge.
And again, that I did absolutely openly also, right? And that absolutely it was true, and that was one of the way to me to convey our information, etc. But by Soviet standards, it was high treason, actually. To be for ordinary Soviet citizen without official permission to get into contact with diplomats of such bad countries as America or England, it was simply high treason. So the warning was very clear. I mean, the criminal article which was mentioned in this warning was Article 64, which was high treason, which assumed capital punishment. And they told me, look, that's what we can do and we may do, but we give you alternative, you may leave the country. If you leave the country within a month before Summer Olympic Games would start in Moscow, they didn't want me to stay until it was 1980.
They didn't want you demonstrating in front of Western cameras.
Yeah, and also to be in touch with many important people who would come. We would let you go. I say, wait a second, but I never applied for any immigration. I didn't intend. They told, don't worry. I mean, you will leave whenever you decide to do so. Now, why it happened, it's important, because there was already a strong campaign on my behalf, which was started by American scientists. Andrei Sakharov was already exiled to Gorky at that time. Yuri Orlov was
internal exile.
Internal exile, exactly.
Right.
Yuri Orlov was already arrested and was in labor camp. Anatoly Sharansky, my good friend, who was also a scientist, was also arrested. It created very strong and successful campaign in America, which was actually organized here in Bay Area by my good friends who worked at that time at Berkeley lab. They created an organization which was called Sakharov-Orlov-Sharansky in defense of scientists. They couldn't do much at that time about Sakharov-Sharansky because they were already arrested.
Right.
But it helped a lot me and several other scientists who were on the verge of arrest, because it was easier to prevent a person to be arrested than to get out. Eventually, as you know, Orlov and Sharansky were released. So that's how I was exiled.